Hey y'all.
Welcome to Rum Punch and Beignets with your favorite TDs, TDB and
TD Dom. We're here to give you our unfiltered opinions on current events and everyday life.
So sit back, relax with your favorite drink as we give you this
TD
realness. All right, y'all. So today is going to be a real heavy hitter. I don't know how deep we're going to go, but we're going to get deep enough. So we're going to be talking about ancestral and past traumas. Everyone is dealing with something. Personally, family-wise, career-wise, like you're dealing with some type of trauma, some type of pain. You're dealing with some darkness, especially when it comes from your family lineage. And a lot of times, like, that haunts you and you really don't know what it is. You might be angry all the time. You really don't know. You might feel sad. You don't really know it. You don't know if it's actually coming from something that you've dealt with or if it's coming from some past things your mama or your grandma or your grandpa they did, and it's just all that energy is just being passed on down to you. So yeah, we're dealing with that today.
And it's really a lot. This episode is really heavy because, as we all have been shown, that this year in various ways is haunting for all that it has been. I'll be the first to admit that it took therapy to realize 2020 has shown us in various ways how haunting for all that it has been. I'll be the first to admit that it took therapy to realize there was generational PTSD ingrained in certain behaviors. Some of the behaviors have carried through to adulthood, and I'm desperately trying to unlearn them.
Right. So again, like, everybody has their own personal story that they've been through or seen their people go through. And at the end of the day, like, we just all been through some shit. And the shit that we've been through has shaped us to who we are today. Some of it for better, some of it for worse. But those traumas will rule your life depending on how you choose to handle and deal with them. So it's either like you're gonna ignore it or you're just gonna fight it head on. So for me, I've dealt with a lot. Most people that know me know that I'm usually very observant. When you first meet me, I come off very intimidating.
I would beg to differ.
You met me when I was drunk, so that don't even matter. That does not count. But when I'm sober, I'm very observant. I could come off very intimidating. I don't hold back. Like, whatever I'm feeling, you're gonna know. If I don't talk to you, that means I don't fuck with you. Period. But all of that, I'm like that because of reasons. So, of course, like, I've come from a single parent home. My parents were married, moved from the city. Then they got divorced when I was really young. And unfortunately, my father decided to abandon me. He was never really in my life. Also in that, I have dealt with sexual abuse. I'm sorry, I did lie to you, but I just didn't want to tell you. Because that's a whole nother beast that I just do not want to deal with.
That's a whole nother episode when it comes to that.
Exactly. But yeah, I've dealt with that. And I dealt with that on my own. I've always been the type of person I'm a problem solver. I love to solve problems. And I've put myself in grown-up shoes of trying to heal others well before I was even ready to even know what healing was. So I've dealt with a lot of that. I've dealt with a lot of family members judging me because I wasn't like everyone else and I didn't like to listen, or because I did something different. It's just mostly like I always had like a personal battle and a family battle. And I realized once I got older, I started to see my family as individual people and realizing that, oh, they've been dealing with some shit and it's been passed down to me. So this is why I'm so harsh, or this is why I choose to be by myself. But like it all started to make sense for me, and thankfully I have not been so scarred by what's been happening to me, or what has happened to me. I haven't been so scarred to where I have closed off from everyone, but I do know that therapy now is helping me, and I kind of wish I would have had it before, because maybe some things would be different. But I feel like I've dealt with my own pain the best way I knew how, and usually, honestly, it's probably way better than most people have. But yeah, like that's my story as far as me personally. That's what I've been through, and I'm not going to dive into all my shit, but that's just the gist of it.
That's
Time.
And as we said at the beginning of this episode, it can get really dark. So we're probably about to go down a dark tunnel right now. So I'll just go ahead and tell my story, and I didn't really realize it until I got older. We as Black people, whether we want to admit it or not, we all have multiple triggers, especially when it comes to racism, traumas that we're beginning to come to grips with. I think I was probably in my mid-20s, and I wondered, even as a kid, I couldn't, you know how sometimes you see your family members that don't look like you all the way, but they do look like you, and you're just like, oh, that's my cousin, and you don't think twice about it.
Right.
I started to really question that when I got to my mid-20s, because I had some cousins, some aunts that didn't look like the other side of the family. So
Right.
I was like, okay, something's not right. And I'm always the kid. I used to be the kid that, why, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I said, I was thinking to myself, I was like, they have some of the same features. Like, we got the same nose, just not the same skin tone, the hair texture. I found out why that was finally.
Mm-hmm.
I found out that a family member of mine was raped by this white man she worked for. And that's why some of my other family members look like that.
Gotcha.
And I had no idea. And, you know, back then, because of the way, like buku
they
family
don't talk
secrets.
about anything.
So they swept it under the rug for years and years. I don't think I found that out until this family member that I always wondered about passed away.
Mm-hmm.
She might have been in her 70s, and I was just like, oh my gosh, they hid this for years, like decades.
That's one thing I can say. Them old folks, they know how to keep a secret.
Oh my gosh, let me say
they know how to keep a secret. I would tell them all my secrets.
I know, because old people not gonna tell nothing. They'll just tell you where to go. Like, when
tell you to mind your business, stay out of grown folks' business. That's what they gonna tell you.
Yep,
and you grown too. But
that was what I heard when this situation came up. That was what I stay out of grown people' business. Go play.
I'm grown. What you mean? I'm playing with y'all.
So yeah, like I found out that was why, and I found out that was why in therapy, why I dealt with my own sexual assault situation in my college years, probably when I was 18 or 19. I felt like that was why I dealt with it. Like, you know, going through therapy. I should have went to therapy then when it happened to me. But, you know, passed down that reaction. That's just how I dealt with it. Because, you know, sometimes the elders don't really teach us another way to, you know, because that's how they dealt with it.
Right.
That's, you know,
you had to keep it a secret.
Right.
Couldn't tell anybody.
Because, like, I couldn't tell nobody that I had got raped. Like, I couldn't. The only person I knew was the girl that was with me or that tried to help me when it happened.
Right.
I couldn't tell anybody. My mama didn't know. Well, she knows now if she listens to this episode.
Right.
My mama didn't know. My dad didn't know. Like, my roommate didn't even know. And we shared the same room. And I didn't deal with the undoing of covering it up and just putting shit over it until I was probably like, I may have been in my mid-20s when I finally dealt with all of that.
Right.
And I had like trust issues, but then I figured out that was all why, you know.
Right. And that's crazy because so when it happened to me, I was 5 and 6, so it happened twice. And during that time, my parents were going through a divorce, so I definitely didn't feel like I could say anything because my mother was an emotional wreck, and I'm trying to make sure she's okay. And I'm like, if I tell her this, she might She going to jail.
Like you can't. Yeah,
she
like,
going to jail. So I was like, I need my mama more than I need, anything else.
Right.
And I wound up having to deal with it as I got older. Like
Right.
I suppressed it for a long time. I probably didn't really acknowledge it or accept that that's what really happened until I got like late teens, early 20s. So,
but then a lot of stuff like that happened to like our grandparents, great grandparents back in like the 1900s, 1930s.
Right.
And they didn't really have an out. They just covered it up. Or, okay, one other situation, not my family, but a friend of mine's, I do remember this story. Found out that the lady who she thought was her aunt was actually her mama.
I always watch movies about that. And I wonder if that was real.
And I really want families to stop hiding secrets like that, because you inflicting so much trauma on the rest of your family members that are currently living. Because when you do that from years and years ago, we got to unwrap and undo and unlearn currently.
Exactly.
And it's so exhausting to try to undo all of that,
Right. So leading into that, what would you, or how would you define ancestral trauma? Because I mean, you kind of spoke on that anyway.
Right. My definition would be what I described in my story I just told about how my great grandmother, basically swept it under the rug and just kept going and still raised her family as if nothing happened. It would be, our responses to traumatic events that are, carried down through the bloodline, and we just keep repeating the cycle because some of us in the family might not know what other avenues to use to, stop going in the same circle.
Right.
And break the curse,
So like what, I know my family has a lot of different curses, but what curses do you feel like have been passed down, or what trauma you feel has been carried on?
Not in my family specifically, but, in a lot of families. Probably the concept of substance abuse. That's a heavy one in a lot of families. I'll even speak on this personally. On one side of my family, I had my aunt's husband. Well, I ain't never met him. He died like way before I was born. And apparently, like, he was, again, domestic abuse is another one, coupled with substance abuse. So he was like beating up on my aunt, and then like he was, a drunk. And that kind of, not the domestic abuse portion, but the substance abuse kind of carried down through cousins who I know damn well should not be alive at this point because they were doing some of the same shit.
Right.
But eventually, like, the substance abuse, that stuff, it'll weigh the family down, honestly. And it keeps going over and over and over. Like, it may not be all of the cousins. It may be one cousin that may just take it to the extreme, and then something tragic ends up happening, and then the family say, oh, well, we need to change, this needs to not happen, blah 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 blah. But then same shit just keep going over and over.
Yeah.
Another one, and I thought hard about this one, was probably the lack of connection back to our roots prior to being brought to America. To piggyback off that, the hotbed topic currently that I've been seeing on social media is the spiritual practices.
Yeah.
That's a heavy one that I've been seeing, because as me and you have talked, my mom is super religious. Been religious, may have fell off the wagon, but she got back. So my mom is like super churchy, and she would die if she knew that I have crystals and I make altars for my ancestors and that I pray to God and other people and do yoga. Because she thinks yoga, like, no lie, she thinks yoga is demonic.
Girl.
And then like her and my cousin are on this whole wave of like, I can't do yoga because you're inviting spirits. Listen,
You're inviting spirits,
girl, that's what they say.
Did she say that when she invited that man into her twat?
Brittany, see.
Okay, that's not my spot. All right, I was just saying that's a spirit that she invited.
See, that's another thing. Or and I would try to explain my spiritual practice, because I'm not just like into organized religion. The older that I've gotten,
right,
I realize where my place is spiritually and how I feel, and my mother is not with it, probably.
Right. But I think that's because she's older and she's already set in her ways, and she feels like, oh, I've been taught this, and this is what it is, and da da da.
And so
it.
that's another thing, like being passed down, like spiritual practices, like, you know, original religion that, you know, our ancestors had before they
Right.
came here, before they learned, you know, Western Christianity versus, you know,
You
the
getting way off because we gonna get deep into that,
oh
and
my
I'm trying to
gosh.
stop myself from even diving into that with you.
We gonna get there, but
But we're not gonna do that. But yes, I do believe that that's something that's definitely passed down as well. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, that debate, I've seen that a lot, and I think we as a community need to have a real discussion about that, but we're not gonna do it today.
Exactly. Okay. But I do agree. Like for myself, I see. I've seen a couple of things that seem to reoccur in my family. Silence is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So my family, I feel like they're getting better with it, but for the most part, when it comes to their hurt, their pain, when it comes to like expressing that type of stuff, they don't like to do it. Like my Mimi, she was,
It's like pulling teeth.
yeah, my Mimi, she was very strong, but she had a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, and I could see it, but she would never show the world
Yeah,
that.
for some odd reason, like our grandparents, like they've been through a lot of shit, but they will never divulge the information. They'll like play it off and be like my grandma don't want people to know that she was actually in love and married to somebody. She wasn't always mean.
Right. And that don't make no sense. That really makes no sense at all.
And like I had to learn that story about my grandma, about how she was in love with this guy, and you know they were gonna get married, and then this drunk driver hit him and killed him.
So she was really hurt, and she just didn't want to relive it.
She never, like, I learned that story from my aunt.
So she just never wanted to.
Like
she never got the chance to heal or grieve from it.
She knows that I know a little bit about it, but she doesn't know like that I know the whole thing. My aunts told me, because that was their dad, and she was gonna marry him. But like she know I know a little bit, but she don't know, and she always just want to just keep shit
to
like,
herself. Yeah, but yeah, that's one thing that's definitely has been a big factor in my family. Sexual abuse has been one. Like over the years, I found out about other family members that have been affected by that. Younger cousins, older family members. Also, another thing that I have noticed is lovelessness. So, and I don't want to put like certain people on blast, but I feel like in my family there is a pattern of settling for someone or a situation because you're comfortable, or never opening up to someone else because you were hurt so bad.
Right.
So that's something that's tragic in my
family. And I think we all are trying to undo that. Like, you know, like I was saying with the sexual assault situation with me, like it took me so long to actually date somebody and like trust that nothing was going to happen. Like I couldn't go out on dates with people for a while because I was just like, I don't know. Which is
understandable, yeah.
Yeah, and then like it took me so long to finally be able to open up to somebody that I was on a date with. Like, hey, this happened to me. This is why I've been like, you know.
Right. And it's like, so for me, those things have always came about, and then but from that grew very independent and like driven individuals. I have some of the most, even though they're loveless romantically, I have some of the most loving family members ever. Like everybody that meets my family, they automatically feel like they're at home, or they feel like they're family.
Right.
So it's like on the other side, the other spectrum of all of their hurt and pain, there was beauty in it all.
Right.
But I want to break the curse of a lot of that. Like I want to, and my mama, she has been excuse me, she has been praying over me and my brother since the day we came out the womb, that we fall in love, find our soulmate. Like she prays that.
Right.
And she has been praying that my brother gets tall, and he has. So I gotta have a love coming soon, okay? Because we don't really have that many tall people in the family, and he's tall. So my husband, if you out there, I'm waiting on you, baby.
Come on and subscribe to the podcast so you can get in contact with her.
No, but really on a serious note, like a lot of the things that we have dealt with, or the things that I don't even know about us dealing with, I want to break those curses. I want to break those chains because it's necessary for the next generation. Because when I have babies, I don't want them to have to be haunted by that. I don't want them to feel like they can't talk to me. I don't want them to feel like they can't express themselves. I don't want them to think that they can't be loved. I don't want them to be afraid of just being here, being out in the world,
or being who they are.
Yeah, I definitely want to I want to break that, and I talk about this with my friends all the time, like breaking those curses.
Right.
I want to break that. Like that is my mission in life.
Right.
Okay.
Like when I was writing this, I was just thinking back to like, okay, what are some of the things that my parents, like I see my parents wanted the best for us, wanted better for us, and that's why they were so hard on us. But if I ever had, I said if I ever had, but the time is past, okay? But I used to always say if I ever had kids, I would never, my parents weren't mean to us. They just were really strict. And I felt like I couldn't open up and talk to them, like about,
And I feel like everybody has those moments, because I feel like my mama did too. And I had the same thing about her. My mama was not a bad parent.
And we have to break that curse. Like my mama wasn't awful. My dad wasn't awful.
They had their ways.
Yeah. And they learned that from, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, and they learned so on and so forth.
Right.
But I promised myself, I was like, if I ever had kids, I would let them talk to me. I wouldn't be like judgy. I wouldn't force, my ideas of how I would always be open, because that makes a better relationship with your children.
Exactly.
Especially when they get older, like now.
They'll know how to deal with other people as
yes. Well. And then when you get older and your children become their own adults, it's not like now where I'm starting to open up to my mom, but there's just so far that I'll go with her because I know who she is.
Right.
Or I know who my dad is.
Right.
Even though my dad be trying to play it cool, like, oh, it's all right if you do. And it's like,
but he still feels some type of way.
You're right. And it's like, hold up. Stop right there. Don't even try to act like it's cool, because it's like, I know who you were then. I know who you are now as my friend, but still as my parent.
Right.
So we definitely have to break that. Like, we have to make it easy for, the next generation to talk to us about stuff,
right,
and not have them at our age going to therapy to undo all the shit we learned.
And what's crazy,
for years at a time.
What's crazy is I look back on, like, from talking to my mama, I look back on the family line. So my great grandmother, she, from what the stories I've heard, and she was Big Mama, she was mean as hell. They say she was mean. She didn't take no shit. Like, she was the one. They said was it her? Yeah, I think they said she shot one of the kids. Shot at one of the kids. If it was not my Big Mama, it was the one before her. My great grandmother. They shot somebody, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's how y'all felt. Y'all don't want to talk to nobody. Y'all just want to shoot at the feet. That's what y'all want to do. They said, we're not gonna kill you, but we gonna maim you. All right, cool. But from there, my grandma, my Mimi, she left from Mississippi as soon as she was 17 to come to New Orleans, because she didn't want to be around all of that.
Right. So she tried.
Yes, she tried, but that lady was still kind of mean too. Okay, she just wasn't as mean as my Big Mama. Like, she wouldn't shoot you in your foot, but she'll throw a Daniel Green at you. And she had a good aim too, cause my mama, she has bruises from that.
Oh God.
So she. I'm sorry to tell you, your business mama, but she knocked my mama out in the middle of her head with a daggone Daniel Green. She got the scar to prove it in the middle of her head. Okay.
Oh, but my gosh.
My mama, she's not as... My mama actually is not as bad as my grandma, but she did come after me with a 2x4, and she would lie up and down and say she ain't do it, but she did it. I remember that 2x4. She don't have to. She could lie to the people, but she can't lie to me. So it's like I see the progression, but I don't want to be that bad. You know, I don't.
Right.
Maybe
don't be
I'm not
that
gonna do a
mom.
2x4, but maybe I might get like a hockey stick or something. You know, I don't know.
Or at least a flash water. Just,
Yeah,
you know.
a fly swat. I mean, they had that too, but I'm gonna get something. I'm just not gonna be as intense as that.
At least you didn't get whooped with a wet towel.
Oh, that sounds like that hurt.
It
I
did.
didn't want that. I'm glad I never had to kneel in rice. I've never had to. I never had to do any of that terrible stuff.
Right.
But the worst thing was basically like the 2x4. My mama used to, if I cursed or something or I said something wrong, she'll pop me in my mouth, of course. But if I did something like we were out in the store, she didn't want to actually punish me or like reprimand me out in public.
Right. She wouldn't till I get in the car.
No, she wouldn't wait.
Oh, that's my mom.
No, she'll do it in the store, but she'll do it inconspicuously.
Right.
So like if I was touching too much or, you know, running around, she'll come here. She's like, Brittany, come here. And you know, she'll make that face so she doesn't have to yell. So you come like, oh. Then she said, put your hands out. And you got to turn them over. So she was smacking the shit out your backside.
Oh.
That hurts. Because that's tender skin. And it's very like that shit.
gosh.
She would smack the shit out of it. And you couldn't say nothing. And if you tried to cry, you better suck it up. Don't you? You better hold it in.
And then don't let them grit their teeth.
Girl.
Or no, before we even got to that point, we used to get the speech in the car. Before we get out the car. When we go in,
touch nothing.
Don't touch nothing. Don't ask for nothing. Don't break nothing.
Stay
Because
right
if you break it, that means I bought
gotta
it.
buy it,
And then
yep.
I'm going to have to get you. And don't
we
get
ain't
in
got
here
no money.
whining and acting like these other children in the store.
Act like you got some sense.
Yeah.
Act like you got some sense.
And that held us the whole grocery trip.
Yep.
Sure did.
But yeah, and I feel like all that stuff comes when it comes down like you learning from what you've already seen, what you've already experienced, and I feel like you're supposed to want to do better than before. And I think the only way for us to do better, especially to heal from those type of traumas, we have to do one thing: go to motherfucking therapy.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We've said this before, and we're gonna say this again
And we're gonna
again,
keep saying it.
and again. Go to therapy. Like you can do so much on your own. Like you can write if you're already a writer. You can pray. You can meditate. You can do exercise, yoga. You can do a lot of self-healing things. But at the end of the day, you're gonna hit a roadblock, and you're gonna have to talk to someone that's not a friend, that's not a mother or a parent, that's not even related to you because they already know your life. Like you got to speak to someone that knows nothing about you.
Right.
And get an outside opinion. That's the only way you'll really be able to heal. That's the only way you really will be able to progress in your life and do better than what you've seen. Because if you don't, you'll continuously go into the same cycle because you'll think you're making progress and then you'll ease back into old habits and not even realize that you're doing it. Unless you got people that are around you that are like,
they keep you
check.
accountable. Yep.
Yeah, you got a checkmate. You're not supposed to be doing that, blah, blah, blah. But it's always good to have someone that is unbiased to your situation, that doesn't know anything about anything that has to do with you, and let them give you that info. Let them give you the little gems that you can think about and apply to your life.
Right.
That helps. I promise you. Please do it.
I'm with Brittany. Take your ass to therapy. Go to the website and we'll have multiple resources in finding a therapist in your city. But for real, go to therapy. It really forces you to think a little bit deeper. Not necessarily the surface of your problems or what you're unlearning or trying to stop doing or whatever, or trauma that you're trying to heal from. Sometimes they'll give you a little homework, but that's to get you to go deeper and be greater in purpose of your well-being and your healing. Like Nike kids, just do this.
Please.
Go to therapy.
And also think of therapy as like when you take your car to get an oil change.
Right.
Or like when you take it to get a tune-up. Or when you go to get shoes fixed, like old shoes or whatever the case, when you're doing spring cleaning.
Don't let the oil dry up and then you end up with a bad transmission.
Exactly. Think of it like that, because you could be hoarding a lot of drama. You could be hoarding a lot of gunk in your life that's stopping you from getting to the next level, and you don't even realize it because you're just running on autopilot. You don't even realize what's going on. You're just doing because you think that's what you're supposed to do. But honestly, you need to drop off the load. Like Erica said, it's the bag lady, okay?
You don't want to be carrying all them bags.
We don't want them bags.
Nope.
Bag lady.
And you gonna hurt your back carrying all them bags like that.
Stop. Okay? Let them bags go, baby.
Even if it may be people that are the bags, let them go. And I promise you, everything that's supposed to be yours will become yours. Okay. Let them go. Let it go.
But as we said, we will have resources. We will have information for therapists as well on the website. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you really just want to share your story or just get some things off your chest and you don't want to go to a therapist because you don't have insurance to cover it,
because we live in America.
FYI, Medicaid does, well, therapists, some of them do take Medicaid. So just do your homework, do your research, because my therapist takes Medicaid. And she has been such a wonder for me thus far.
And I like to add to that, in Louisiana specifically, if you live in Louisiana and you're listening to us, and say you don't have insurance, sign up for Medicaid. And under Medicaid in Louisiana, you will be eligible to have free therapy.
At least once a week.
At least once a week, especially if you've been a victim of a violent crime. Louisiana will pay for that, and that's free if you have Medicaid.
Amen.
I don't know about any other insurance, but I'm pretty sure, again, if you've been a victim of a violent crime, sexual assault, abuse, whatever, I'm sure your insurance should cover it for the most part.
Right.
But we're definitely going to provide, some
information on it. And again, if you don't want to do therapy and you just want a listening ear, you just want to share your story, you can always email us, rpandandb podcast@gmail.com. Also,
you can DM us on Twitter, Instagram. If you don't want it to go no further than us, confide in us. We're not gonna say nothing.
We love to talk. I love giving advice. I love listening. I'm a great listener, even though I like to talk sometimes too. It honestly depends on the person, but I love to listen to people, and I love to be, a shoulder for people. That's just what I like to do. Also, is there anything else we want to add on top of that?
Go to therapy. I also want to give a shout out. I haven't done this on past episodes, but I need to give a shout out to our producer, DYT, and also the Boot Crew. You heard me. DYT did the intro music for us, and we are grateful for him. Thank you so much. Also, who else?
How can you reach him?
You can reach him on Instagram at damn Utah. I'm so sorry, y'all, but that's what DYT stands for, because he's really tall. So let me spell it for you so you won't be confused. Y'all don't laugh, because he's really tall.
4 M's and 5 N's.
Yeah, he's really tall. So the name is not deceiving. So like I said, if you're looking for an engineer, producer, someone to make any type of beat for you, his name on Instagram is Dam, DAM, and that is 4 N's. DAM, 4 N's. NNNN UYOU tall, TALL_. You cannot miss him. Literally, he's tall. He's almost 7 feet. He's tall, but he's really good at what he does. So check him out, hit him up. And again, thank you to the Boot Crew.
Yes,
they've been holding us down
since the beginning,
and we can't wait to do more with them. But again, please make sure y'all follow us on Instagram, Twitter,
subscribe to the website.
Yes, check out everything and go to fucking therapy.
Yeah,
and that's a wrap.
Peace.